Well, welcome everybody. Happy spring. As we were just talking about the weather, but I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the RTM Public Health and Safety Committee special meeting for Wednesday, April 16th. It's a little bit after 7:30. We're getting started. This is a special meeting, so that means that we can only discuss items that are on the agenda. We'll have a few announcements, but other than that, we have three items to discuss. So we might as well jump into the first one. This is to discuss and vote on amending Appendix D of the Town Code to include a fine for violations of Section 10-52, control of dogs in public places.
Mac, did you want me to make a statement before you did that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lois. Sure.
So I just want to inform people that there have been several RTM committee meetings that have been Zoom-bombed. And it has been very disturbing to the people involved. So that's why we're doing extra steps here. And Jim's gonna take this out of the recording, I hope. Jim, do we need to restart the meeting? You're okay to just edit it?
I think it's perfectly appropriate where it's a public meeting. I think this is public information,
Okay.
and I'd leave it in.
Okay. So as a precaution right now, we're making sure that RTM committee meetings that do virtual, have any part component that's virtual, have a co-host or a chair, or so that person's responsible for admitting people into meetings. So we're asking everybody to make sure you put your name in, or if you're calling up on a cell phone, on a phone, that all we have is a phone number, that you give the chair of the committee your phone number before you start. Otherwise, we can't let people in because we can't control it. There may be further information as the powers that be figure out how we're supposed to handle it, but this is how we're handling it right now. Should something happen that I can just get rid of the person that's there, that comes on like that, then I will delete that person. If something should happen that doesn't work, we will cancel them, we'll end the meeting and start up the meeting. So just call in again and we'll go through it again. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on what we were doing, but I think we're good here because nobody's come in that shouldn't be in yet. So I think we'll be good.
How are we handling this if the public wants? These are public meetings, right? So the public is entitled to come in. So how is that being handled?
Right now, if we know who the person is ahead of time, then we will let them in. The exact way it's going to be handled for the future is subject to what Wayne ends up telling us. So we're trying to do that. Right. Right now, I think, Mac, on the thing you asked people to let somebody know that they wanted to come in or something like that. We've got a lot of ideas. We don't know which ones we're allowed to do or not, but we certainly can't run meetings if what happened in the other two meetings happens in this meeting.
Well, I don't know what happened, but okay.
You did not want to see what was put on the screen. It was really foul.
So it's serious. This is not a hypothetical exercise. This is serious. And Mac got to see it in the F&B meeting. I have not seen it, and I'm hoping never to. So,
but Tom, I have a lot of faith in Lois and Mac and Wayne Fox, our counsel, because I know they're going to, and Krista, they're looking out for the interest of public access. These are public meetings, and I think the public should be allowed to attend. By publicizing these links in advance, we're leaving ourselves with some vulnerability, but I'm on your side on that one too. And they are watching and waiting for Wayne to come up with 2 tablets of wisdom to march down from the mountaintop with.
Part of
the 10 Commandments.
Whatever. I trust him. He'll make a good choice, I'm sure.
No, and frankly, this meeting is being recorded. If anybody from the public wants to see the meeting, which is all they'd be doing now if they're on, they can certainly watch it at their leisure once it's published.
And then the meetings don't have public comment, and the meetings aren't available for people to comment on. So that's the other side of the thing. So worst case is they get to see it tomorrow morning after we publish it. But I don't think they're really losing out, but we'll wait and see. And by the way, Wayne is going back to the state and to FOIA and all sorts of people. So he's trying to do the real job, but make sure that people think about this. It's not a lightweight, everybody has to get in, because it destroys the meetings.
Well, I mean, the other choice is have it in person, and that, COVID's over, so.
Well, as somebody said to me, that the cat's out of the bag, and a lot of people really like being able to do this, especially on short notice. So, thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you. So
I'm
let's
joining
jump
from
in.
out of the country. So
Right.
So I just discovered we're going to talk about voting on amending Appendix D of the Town Code, which will include a fine for violations of Section 10-52, control of dogs in public places. So the selectmen have met twice on this, and their recommendation is a fine of $100 plus expenses, which right now is currently approximately $29. So their recommendation is to have a fine of $100 and plus expenses. Now the current fine that they are using is the state fine, which is $25 plus costs of $29, so it's approximately $50. So this is more than double of that. So anyway, that's what we've been asked to look at. So I just open up any comments. Yeah, Jim?
I got 3 questions, and you probably may not have the answers to them. How many tickets at the current fine were issued by the police department last year?
No,
I think that
no idea.
Well, could you find out or ask them so we can get an answer? Okay. The big one's coming up, but I heard the conversation by Monica at the Board of Selectmen meeting. I don't see it in the wording. Where is this leash law specifically going to be enforced? And is it being enforced only on Great Island? Because I don't see that in any verbiage.
No, this is a townwide ordinance, and all we're doing is we're adding a fine to it. So this can happen on any sidewalk. That could happen at town hall. So it's being discussed at this point in time because of Great Island, but the reality is it's for the whole town.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And the last question, I think the biggest one is, who is going to enforce this? I got information from a senior government official that the animal control officer who was hired by the police department, first of all, immediately went on disability because they lifted a dog that was too heavy. And that person's hours by union contract are between, I believe it's 8:30 in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Friday only. That leaves, I guess, the police department, unless they are going to deputize dog wardens or whatever to do this policing. So the big question is, ordinance or no, are they going to enforce it, and how?
Yeah, well, my answer to that is that that's a big question. I think they're taking baby steps. I think having this new animal control officer that will probably spend time each week at Great Island, and again, it's not weekends. So Saturday and Sunday, the police will have to be out there. I'm guessing they'll take it on a kind of little by little, but the police clearly can write tickets, but I think there'll be a lot of warnings with people initially. I think there'll be a lot of that.
Mac, I think I need to get a specific answer from the chief.
Okay.
Or the police commission, because it could be this, it could be that. What is the strategy? If we pass an ordinance and immediately tell
ordinance
people,
the ordinance is
if
already
we raise
passed,
go
ahead. Go ahead.
Are they writing tickets to the current ordinance? Is it any disincentive? So they're going to raise the fine. We're going to raise the fine. Unless we hear there's a commitment to enforce, that basically tells everybody this is like observing stop signs in Darien. Just kind of cruise on through. What's the strategy? How are we going to make sure that this is not a deterrent unless it's enforced?
And that's true of any fine. You're absolutely right.
So I would, when we report to the committee as a body as a whole, I would, maybe you could get some answers to those questions from other senior government officials.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lois?
I just wrote something to Brent with Mac's concurrence, and I copied Mac on it because I've been talking to Brent earlier about other stuff to ask, but it was more informal than what you're asking, Jim. And Mac and I and probably Mac will ask a more formal thing, but I opened that door this morning.
Great.
Yeah, and I think I just have one more follow-up question too, which is how will this be publicized? how will the town residents be made aware? Are we hanging, putting up new signs? Will there be, I'm sure mention in the town email that goes out, but it'd just be good to have a plan to make sure everyone is aware.
And again, I think that's why there's going to be an awful lot of warnings. I don't think this is heavy-handed that they're looking to make this a revenue center for the town. I think it's just something it's a deterrent, and so I think it's gonna go along those lines. But I imagine that they'll be posting new signs at Great Island. Problem is, where do you put the signs? This applies to sidewalks. This applies to any public property in town that's not a park.
I like the revenue aspect to it, so we can poo-poo that. We collect the money, that's good.
Don't spend it till you got it.
Can I just,
Yes,
just want to mention something. I mean, my wife and I walk our dog up at Highland Farms pretty much daily, and we've noticed in the last couple of weeks that we've observed almost nobody with a dog off leash. Now, I know Highland Farms is very different from Woodland Park. I think many of the people in Woodland Park think that that's a kind of a free-for-all, kind of dogs off leash, have a great time. But I don't know whether the word has gotten out, but at Highland Farms, we've noticed a lot more leash observance. Anecdotal, who knows? But
no,
that's great.
Well, my observation, I live on Edgerton, and the vast majority of people I see walking dogs are on the sidewalk, and I could almost say 100%. I never see a dog that's not on leash. And why would you walk a dog near the road without a dog on leash? I think it applies to more of the parks that we don't really, this ordinance doesn't apply to. The parks have their own regulations, but that's good to hear about Highland Farms.
Yeah.
I think that from what I heard in the selectmen's meeting, it's more of a process, and this is just this is a piece of a big puzzle that that we need this information in there, but it is not the whole puzzle. It's just a piece of it, and that they're going to try and do informational sessions of some people sitting out there and reminding people on weekends to, license the dog, have the dog on a leash, things like that.
And that's just at Great Island. That seems to be the focus. But the reality is, like I've said before, this is a townwide ordinance. It really applies everywhere, and it's also about picking up after your dog. That's just as part of the ordinance as the leashing.
And that's why we were asked to put the fine on the books, so that at least you have that, it's there, and they can start working with it, doing what they want. So,
would you like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I move that Public Health and Safety Committee, the RTM, endorse the proposed rewriting of fines for violations of Section 10-52, control of dogs in public places as found in the municipal code.
Second.
Can I ask?
Okay, I think you should make sure this says $100. That's the whole crux, is we need a dollar amount.
True. Is that specifically mentioned in the resolution that's coming before the committee?
Yes.
I think you're right.
It's the last part. It says, now therefore be it resolved that Appendix D be amended to provide a fine of $100 for each violation.
Thank you. I was looking at the agenda instead of the resolution. So yes, the resolution on behalf of the RTM, specifically adding to my resolution, whatever I'm voting on next, that the fine be raised to $100 for each violation.
And I just
all in favor?
No, hold on. She's questions. You got a question?
Go ahead, Lois.
I just wanted to comment. I mean, we've had some off the side conversations about having a fee for a second or a third violation of this issue, and where I think, since we haven't talked about it here, but I think where a bunch of us ended up with is, this is a starting point, and if we need more in the future, we do more. But I just wanted to put that in as part of our record and discussion.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next one is discuss and vote on the Darien Emergency Telecommunications Union contract settlement. And we're not approving it. We're actually voting to not disapprove it. That's kind of the language that we use. But this is kind of a subset of the town hall employees. These are town employees who work at the police department, but they're not policemen. But they're the ones who handle the dispatch of the calls coming in. I sent out I call it a cheat sheet, but it's a 3-page document that Jennifer put out. It's kind of got the high points, and I sent that to everybody. The actual contract is like 45 or 50 pages long, but most of the meat of it is in this document. So hopefully you all had that. But it talks about the wage increases. They're basically the same as all town hall employees. First year is 3%, next year is 3%, and then the third year, ending July 1st of 26, is a 2.8% increase. A couple of the other things that were kind of interesting: the average annual cost increase for this contract is $43,100, or a little over 0.004 mils per year. So it's it's not a huge item, but it definitely is something that the union had to work on. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting was they have a stipend for and anyone who is bilingual, which I thought was quite interesting. The police do this also, so that's an extra $50 a year. And it isn't just that you raise your hand and you say, "Oh, I speak Spanish." It's also they have to prove some proficiency and whatnot. But that I think going forward is really important.
So, Mac, just to be specific, it's $50 a month, not $50 a year.
Yeah, I believe it's a month. Yes. Yeah, okay. $50 per month. And it's actually the same standard that the police officers themselves get. So it's something that they've been successful with, and they're just adding. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, if somebody's calling into 911 and their basic language is Spanish, and they're having trouble expressing what their concern is, it's quite important that someone be able to speak Spanish.
Agreed. It seems to me it's worth more than $50 a month, but
Mac, do these dispatchers only answer 911s?
Yes, I believe they're just at the police station, but go ahead.
They answer the general non-emergency number too, 662-5000, I think. I mean, you call the police department, but it goes through to them. These are really important jobs, and the police department has had trouble hiring people for these jobs and keeping them. Yeah. A lot of it because they don't like the commute. They don't live down here. It's like our teachers and our other folks that come into this town to make a living, librarians, etc. They don't live down here. They can't afford to, so they got to commute, and they don't like driving on I-95 any more than anybody else does. And there's been a certain churn. I remember from watching the police commission meetings. There's been a certain churn that's been going on there as well too. So I think we've got to do everything we can to not only be competitive, but be best in class to entice people to come and work here. Because remember, they're not paid police officers. They're making less money than a police officer, and having them answering the phones, we hope kind of, at least hypothetically, frees up a police officer to go out and do police work.
Right. And then the other thing about that is that these people do this all the time, so they're savvy with it. Whereas if a police officer once a month has to have a 4-hour shift doing this, they're kind of out of practice. So this is I think is a much better operation.
Yeah.
So what do they do when since they don't meet their minimum of people? Do the police officers covering the 911?
Yeah.
I think they do.
Currently.
Does anybody know that there was this bit about the midnight shift? That do they have one, or do they have more than one person on board? And is it different at midnight? Jim, do you know?
I just, from reading the summary that was prepared, it sounds like they should have one unless the chief says otherwise. And there's implication that they're not always going to staff that. But if
Well,
you look, there's also a pay differential. You make more money if you work the overnight. If you work evenings, you make more money than if you work the days. So it's like a bingo card. What shift are you on and how much you're going to be making that week?
well,
You know, again, who wants to work overnights? If you're a dispatcher, I think you know, if you're looking for excitement, Bridgeport overnights, Norwalk overnights, Darien, hopefully just crickets, but you want
Yeah.
somebody there, right?
Yes,
I'll
but-
just read what it says. It says the contract adds a provision that allows the midnight shift to have a mandatory minimum of one dispatcher unless otherwise determined by the chief of police. This has the
Right.
potential to decrease overtime as not every midnight shift vacancy will need to be filled. The financial impact cannot be quantified at this time.
Yeah, it's required unless the chief feels otherwise. Okay, I got it. So they
So
won
does-
that one.
Is every dispatcher bilingual? Just going back to the $50 a month. What is that for, the $50 a
Why
month?
don't you put that on your punch list when you're talking to the chief, Mac? I
Yeah.
don't know how many there are. That's a good question.
I know there's also you know, the hiring of police officers. There's an emphasis on having someone who's bilingual. So I remember one of the meetings that I attended, they talked about that.
Do we have the ability to run this through a translation program? I mean, if we're really stuck where the
Probably so.
dispatcher,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah. If they don't use their iPhone, there's probably somebody that can patch in to do all that.
So I just heard the other night, I was with some people and there's somebody has a hearing aid kind of thing that can listen to whatever languages and automatically translates it into English.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine there isn't that capability somewhere.
Watch for this as a future budget item.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good one. I mean,
Yeah.
if it could help
Yeah.
the police officers deal with the people they have to deal with. So I told this to a friend of mine and she goes, well, but is there one that'll take the English that you're speaking and translate it so the other person can hear it?
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah. Hand them the earbuds and you listen to
I
that.
don't know, but that's where the world's going anyway.
Okay. It's Lois's turn to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, on
Okay.
the second item here.
I'll make a motion to not reject, I think that's the way you put it, not
Mhm.
reject the contract with the dispatchers and the dispatcher union. Is that okay?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, then the
is
last
the hard
item
one.
that's on the agenda is discuss and vote on revisions to the town's harbor ordinances. The reality is that we're not ready to vote on it. This is just kind of in its infancy. There's going to be a public hearing on it. I put that on there because when I was at the rules committee the other night, we were asked to weigh in on it. So I just assumed it was coming right quickly, but you know, in a nutshell, what I put out the information on, but in a nutshell, what it is, you know, some of the harbor rules are embedded in the charter. Some are part of the ordinances, but there's a harbor master, and that person is giving some additional powers, I guess, the ability to weigh in with fines and actually be able to cite somebody for maybe speeding through the harbor, creating wake. There's issues, I guess, also with ownership of moorings,
Yeah.
and how that's handled.
That's crazy.
You know, if I can explain it, you know, if there's a Darien resident who shares their mooring with somebody else, and they move out of town, and all of a sudden maybe someone, it can be acquired kind of under the table by somebody who doesn't live in Darien. So they're trying to tighten that up as well. But there'll be a public hearing on it, and then at some point it'll come to the RTM.
Can we get a presentation from the Coastal Commission or the Advisory Committee on
Well, I
coastal
think
waters before we have
there
to
is going
vote on this?
there
or
is going to be a
anything?
presentation,
Okay.
you know, to the committees that are involved in this. I frankly don't really feel why we're involved in it, because our only thing is that the police do patrol the harbor, and
Safety.
you know, it's kind of a no-brainer. Yes, they patrol the harbor. So, but you know, we could certainly be involved in that, and and participate in a meeting.
Because I read that red line document and it was just like, you might as well be asking me to, do parsing of the genetic code. I have no idea what you're talking
Right.
about.
I felt exactly
I'm not
the
a
same.
boat owner. I've never been on the harbor. I can read
Yeah.
a chart, but please make it simple. If you want to see some fascinating television, watch the Coastal Commission meetings for the last 3 months as they've been debating this. I mean,
Well,
they got a lot of work done in trying to make this all into one codified document. And the first
Yeah.
selectman has been cheering them on too. So they got to be doing something.
well, I
with it
did
there.
speak to a constituent who has some concerns about some of the language of this, where there's the word discretion used, that the police have discretion, or the harbor master has discretion, and I remember talking to Chief Anderson before he retired, that he liked historically having discretion as an officer, because he'd pull someone over and he could give them a warning. Now with body cams and whatnot, you almost have to give someone a ticket.
So
This is why we need to have a good public hearing or two on this.
Oh, it's
Let
people
everybody. I want to hear what boaters think, because
people are very passionate about it that are boaters.
So Jim, I think the harbor people gave a talk at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and that
yes,
was
they did.
So I think that's one source of that.
Yeah.
But and I'm not sure who's organizing the public hearing, but I thought I got the idea that there was going to be a presentation and then the comments, as opposed to just opening up for comments.
Oh
So,
yeah, I think that would be
and I think
Yeah.
that's really what you're
essential.
talking about, to essentially video,
Mhm.
make sure people know that it's there.
Great.
I think one of the biggest issues, apart from the mooring ownership or use of moorings, is rafting. This weekend, lash your boats together and everybody have a party. And there is a lot of debate of what's the highest number of boats. Should it be 3 or 4 that are allowed to raft together? And again, I'm not a boat owner, but I have been on one of these get-togethers, and to me, it doesn't make much sense. I mean, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. Once you get beyond 3 boats, I think it's getting a little unsafe. But
They said
just an opinion.
It currently is 3, and then they upped it to 4. So
Why not 5?
Right, but I think that's because no one's been observing the rule of 3.
yeah.
It's like the leash law.
But I think
Yeah.
part of this too is because you have Great Island, right? So that
Right.
there's moorings
Yeah.
there, and there's where the rafting takes place.
Right.
So
Oh.
there's some safety issues
Mhm.
in that locale now that we have Great Island.
Is there
Oh,
anything
good.
in any of the ordinances about noise?
All the boats have to be electric by.
Yeah.
Well, there's that.
Talking
There's
about people.
also,
No,
if you're
music though,
on
music,
Great
right?
Island and you just want some quiet, you've got boom boxes, you've got sound systems,
I think you'd have to. Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
Private
So
homes or-
Good
we talked
question.
about a noise ordinance. You remember where that went?
We don't want to bring that back, do we? Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that there's been some complaints for people that live on Great Island over the years, if it's really been bad. I'm just not familiar with it. Parties going on out in that cove.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah.
So okay, well, any
Well, I
any
guess there's
announcements?
nothing to do then.
No,
about it.
not at this point.
All right.
Good.
Well, we'll stay tuned.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The only I could make an announcement if you want to make an announcement.
Sure.
The Plan of Conservation and Development Survey. If you have not taken it, I encourage you to take it. It's closing as of Friday at the end of this week, I think it is.
Okay.
There's a link on the town website. It's all over social media. It'll take you 10 minutes, but we've been doing so many surveys, 3 surveys alone for Great Island, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of been lost in the shuffle. I think they said today they've had 1,000 responses, and they're shooting for 1,400, which would be 10% of the electorate, whatever it was. They're looking for as
Mhm.
many as they can. But
Okay.
however you feel about development or planning, this is a good chance to get your 2 cents worth in.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh, good, thanks for that. I missed that one.
Me
yeah,
too.
me too.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the
Did I
link.
miss that
Thank
in
you.
the weekly best of reminder to do that? Did I?
There
We
will
put
be
it-
actually the weekly best of this week is going to be dedicated to POCD
Okay.
with a list of all the shows that have happened where the consultants have come in and answered questions.
Super.
So if you want to do a quick not so deep dive on POCD, look for the best of newsletter coming out Saturday morning,
But when's the survey due?
Friday at 8:00.
April 18.
But
He's off.
I do
I told
believe,
him he was off by a week, but I've been promoting it on Twitter and wherever else I can.
yeah, and I think John has mentioned it in his Friday
I
comments
think he
as
did
well.
too. Yeah. The newsletter, the town newsletter and the First Selectman's newsletter are must-read material every Friday.
That was your best.
Sometimes they're a little long. They're a little long sometimes, but there's so
Oh,
much
they're
going
good.
on in town. I wish that we had a newspaper that would cover it, but we don't.
Well, I know, it's terrible.
Your best of is another piece. It's absolutely great.
That's Mike's work, and I give him total credit for that. But that's sort of an announcement.
Well,
that wasn't
No.
the discussions. No, just an
And I'll
announcement.
plug you for your transportation writings. Those are
Oh,
always really
please, no,
interesting.
this is not. Don't go there. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move. Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Happy
Take
Easter,
care,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.